Hello, welcome all to the Geek Stack podcast, now over 18 subscribers. Today we're going to talk about the massive failures of Halo Infinite, despite having the most staff of any Halo game, the most budget of any Halo game, and the most time to develop of any Halo game.
All right, here we go, Geek Stackers.
Geek Stackers, what is up? So, firstly, I want to talk about that Halo episode from the show.
Okay,
That's what I want to talk about. I thought that was pretty good. I like the direction they're going with it, and like the story they're trying to tell. I'm kind of like, okay, it kind of got me convinced.
Okay,
it's a little bit better than the first.
What took you over? What took you over the edge?
Honestly, the end. So the end where like they was talking to that crazy dude, and they were kind of explaining how like the Halo rings are going to be found. Where he touched the object, and he was like, "You're one of the chosen," and it made me think, oh snap. So like, you know how in the games he's a reincarnation of the precursor, this and that, whatever.
Yep.
And I think that's how they're kind of going to explain like the Halo rings and how they find them instead of just finding it by accident and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, that's actually kind of cool. So I think the story building they're using for this is actually pretty intuitive, so they don't have to like introduce all the history from the games.
Okay. So when the episode started, naturally we get into, for those of you who haven't watched, this is going to be a spoiler, just so you know. So when episode starts, we get into Master Chief and what's her name? Kwan Ha, is that her name?
Kwan
Ha. And we're going over the whole dynamic of Master Chief trying to figure out why exactly he violated a direct order and saved this young lady. I think
and she asked him, and he was like,
right. Even he couldn't figure it out. He was like, I don't know. And it has a lot to do with the Forerunner artifact. And this is something that he's still trying to figure out, trying to figure his way through.
Yeah.
All right. So with that said, would you say that this current episode has assuaged your fears on whether it's going to be good? And explain why.
Yeah, especially with how they... So at first I was like, they're not really drawing me in. It seems like they're going so far like past, like, because I thought they were going to like originally like not follow any of the original story and just do their own thing, which I'm like, okay, hey, do your thing, whatever, right? But I think they've tied it in enough with the original lore and like stuff that they're adding to make it like consumable to people who've never played the game, never read the books, that it actually seems like it's going to be a dope story. It's not just going to be something that they threw together. And also I like the line at the end of the show, at the end of the episode, where Chief was talking to Dr. Halsey, right? And she was like, why'd you come back? And he was like, to deal with people I trust. And like, I could tell that was a lie.
Oh yeah.
But she couldn't. And I was like, okay, interesting. I wonder what he's actually trying to do, you know? I was like, that's pretty cool. I think how they're using Master Chief's character to tell the story is very cool, because it is like a more of a humanization of his character, which we don't really get in the games before Halo Infinite. So it's pretty cool.
So do you think that Master Chief is at this point, or what they're trying to show is at this point, Master Chief is trying to figure out what exactly is going on? And can I trust
honestly,
these people?
From what I've seen, I think Master Chief is just trying to figure out like who he is. You know what I mean? Because it's like when he originally touched the object, it's like he gained sentience. Like he finally was what's the word? Man, conscious. Like, you know, like your first memory is like when you gain consciousness. You know, like when you're like 3 or 4. I think he's having like a gain consciousness moment. He's like, oh wait, hold up, I can make my own decisions. And I think that's kind of what happened.
So what'd you think about what's his name's character? I can't even think of that. Bokeem Woodbine's how you pronounce his name. What'd you think about
great? I love his character. His character is cool. Cool. I like it. I hope he shows up more in the show, but I have like an aching fear he's gonna get killed off at some point. I'm not sure. So I like his character.
So I've heard different reviews, different critiques of the show, and it seems like there's some people who don't like the show. I don't know if it's because they're not giving it a chance after that first episode.
I think so.
or is it because people are so used to the games that they're not willing to give any? And also another thing, I think there's many people who read or who played the games who never read the books.
Read the books, yeah. I think that might have something to do with it because it show does seem like it follows the books more than it does the games, right? Which is probably a good idea, you know, because how the books were written seems a little more better for storytelling in a show format than how the games were. Um, but because like so Halo follower, right? I've been following him for a long time. He does not like the show, and I think his main problem with it is it tries to appeal to like the casual viewer, not like the hardcore Halo fan, which draws to like the newer game they came out. But that's a whole different conversation for later as well. But I think that's what a lot of people have issues with is like it just seems like they're not really trying to appeal to the fans. And it's like they don't really have to. You know, like there are some points in there that appeals like the book fans, but nothing for the game fans. Cause like as we said the last time we reviewed the show, they didn't play the games at all whenever they made the show. So I think there's a lot of people who are fans of the games who feel like they're not being included in like the type of like story points that they're using in this show.
Mm. So yeah, that which makes me wonder if this show was doomed to be criticized no matter what.
Yeah, no, see, you're
Because
not gonna make everybody happy.
right,
Yeah, I think that there's always gonna be, especially in like the geek space, there's always gonna be somebody that's not happy. It doesn't matter how perfect the game is, there's always gonna be somebody. There's people hating on Elden Ring, you know? Elden Ring is probably one of the best games that's come out in the last like 5, 6 years since Breath of the Wild, in my opinion, right? So I mean, there's always gonna be somebody that doesn't like something, and it's just, it is what it is. Like you're not gonna be able to change people's minds. You can just only make the best product you can make.
yeah, and I think it's beyond just your opinion at this point because you're not the only one who I've
That's gonna be
heard.
watching the show.
Well, not only
Oh,
that, I'm talking about like as far as the Elden Rings. You're not the only one I've heard say that Elden Rings is probably one of the best games ever. I've like several reviewers, and then there's the random person that's like, oh, I hate this, and I think with the show, you know, like just playing devil's advocate and giving a little bit of grace. If I'm making a show based on a widely popular game that also has a book, how do I get viewers? The people who play the game, they're gonna view the show whether they like it or not. Now
whether
they
they
may
like
not.
it or not,
Now they may
yeah.
not stay. They may not stay. A lot of people who love the games may tail off. But if you can grab a casual audience, there. I don't want to make a declarative statement because I don't know, but I wonder how many gamers there are that would watch the show versus casual people casually
So
watching the show.
honestly, I think that even though Halo has been a big franchise for many years, right? There's a lot more younger gamers and people who haven't played Halo than there are people who did and who are around for that. And as
Mm.
much as I hate to say it, Halo's a popular series. Halo's a series that's been around for a while, but there's probably more people in the game space or in the geek space who are younger or who are just outside of that realm of like of nerddom, right? So I'm not as much as I hate to say it, that's probably what it is. There's probably more people who haven't played the games than people realize who are kind of into the story, who are like, I don't really know how to jump in.
And which is one of the things that I brought up in the previous episode is
Yeah,
how do you catch people up without drag, because the Halo lore, I
it
don't
is
think
so
many people, yeah, I don't
expansive
think
and
a lot of
so
people
deep.
realize
Like
that.
even like the Harvest books were like they talk about a lot of
Contact
stuff.
Harvest was really good. Contact Harvest
Yeah,
was
and then there was
really good.
what was the one where it was the Spartan threes on that moon planet? What was
Oh,
that?
oh, 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 oh my goodness. Now I'm gonna have to look it up because I
I
can't.
have the book.
Ghost of Onyx. Ghost of Onyx.
Ghost of
Yeah.
Onyx. Yes,
Ghost of
Ghost of Onyx goes over a lot of the stuff that sets up Halo 4.
Yeah. And
And
so
I'm just like, dang.
yeah, how much of that could you fit in a series without making the series 5 or 6 seasons before you get to the
Yeah.
real meat?
Which is why when I watched this recent episode, I was like, okay, I'm kind of getting it. It's not bad. I like the show. Like if I had to rate the first episode, like 4 or 5 out of 10, this episode 7, 8 out of 10.
So
I liked it.
so
I liked it a lot.
imagine the first episode but for 6 years. That's what it would have been like, dragging out the storyline for
Jeez.
people who've never caught up.
Yeah.
And I maybe I'm just giving it more grace because I love Halo and I want to give it more grace, but I honestly believe if they would have tried to fit all of the lore and go over the entire beginning of the story, Man, that's
It'd
a
be a lot.
lot of
Even
stuff.
even the animation they made for Netflix, they didn't go over everything.
Right. Like imagine if they would have went over the creation of the Spartan 2s. I mean,
That would have been like 3
oh my
seasons at
goodness.
least.
Yes. Yes. Too much. Nobody, I don't think many people, I would have stuck through that because I love the books.
Me too. Right.
But how many
Yeah.
casual people would have stuck through that? I don't think many
It'd be 5 or
casual
6.
people would have been like, where's the action? So when you start out first episode, like what was it, 20 minutes in, Master Chief is
coming in.
Come on, man.
I'm like,
yeah,
let's go.
Yeah.
Getting to work.
yeah, that was hype.
I think the CGI got a lot better too. It's not like bad. I think it was just the first episode, and I was just like, it's kind of weird, but I think I'm kind of used to it now.
Yeah,
because I haven't watched a lot of TV shows lately.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be movie quality, cinema quality.
Yeah, like Mandalorian or like Boba Fett, but is.
And I mean, even those, if you compare Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and all of those to movies, special effects.
You know what's crazy?
Mandalorian.
They use a lot of like engines, like game engines in that. Like they use Unreal Engine 5 for some of the yes, like it is like they are really about their stuff over there at Disney.
You know what I do like about Mandalorian? The fact that they used what did they call that set with the screen in the background, the green screen with the
I know what you're talking
with the
about.
Background projected. So it kind of gives you the feel like they're really there and they don't actually have to
there.
be. They don't have to be in location. Yeah,
like a lot of like the
VR
3D
set,
rendering
is that
stuff
what
they
called
did.
it?
I think so, yeah. But a lot of like the 3D stuff they did in those sets was in Unreal Engine, which I thought was like
that's incredible. Yeah, that's incredible.
Yes.
That I think that's a good use and mix of technology and cinematography. That's a good.
No, yeah, of course, because it
acceptable.
allows them to do things they wouldn't be able to do with like regular green screen or like regular computer graphic stuff. I'm like, that is dope. That's really dope.
So with that, so by the time this is posted, the third episode of Halo is gonna already be out, and we'll try to do this in that way, so we're not spoiling the new episode for people. So, are you excited for episode 3?
A little more than I was for episode 2. Yeah, I'm like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, like left me on a cliffhanger. I'm like, okay, I wonder what's gonna happen. The last episode, I was kind of like, I might watch it. Like I was like, because I remember when you sent me the text, I was like, I might watch it after I do this, or I'm just like, I was kind of like,
So
but now I'm like, okay.
I follow a guy on YouTube, and I'm struggling to remember the name of his channel. I'm trying to look it up now, and he got an advanced screening of Halo. So they got the first, I want to say 3 episodes, and he was excited. And one of the things he said is he was interested in what direction they were going to go, because I think the 3rd episode left him on a huge cliffhanger. He was like, he's like, I am now very interested to see where they go after this. I want to
see it.
Yeah, so
see, now I'm excited.
Yeah, so I think Halo, the TV series, is doing stuff that is going to be interesting to many people, and I think it is going to attract a decent audience, my opinion. Now, I could be completely off the mark and completely wrong, but I'm going to say that at this point in time, after seeing episode 2, I'm pleased. It's not the greatest show. Yeah, it's not the greatest show I've ever watched.
It's not bad. It's pretty good.
Yeah. But here's
casting
the thing.
has been, whoever did the casting for the show, great.
Yes.
Great casting.
I agree 100%.
Like, the script is actually very good.
Yes.
There's like you know how like in most like shows that are like recreated from games, there's like some spots where you're like, it's kind of awkward like dialogue here, but this dialogue looks like it was written by the exact opposite of George Lucas. So I was like,
yeah,
very cool.
John Campy, that's the channel. So John Campy reviewed the first 3 episodes. He got an advanced screening. He couldn't say much about it, but he said it was good, and he was excited.
Yeah, they're probably like,
yeah. Okay, so now meat and potatoes.
Since we're on topic of
meat and potatoes, Halo,
getting back to Halo. About 343 Industries.
So folks,
messing up.
I'm gonna take a backseat, and Control Plaza is going to take over. Let us know what's happening.
So and when the original like photos and like trailer stuff was coming out for Halo Infinite, I was like, okay, this is okay. This might be good. This might be okay. Some people were kind of worried about the graphical stuff that was going on in the trailer. And that's when 343 revealed that they were using a lot of third-party developers to develop their stuff. I was like, you know what? That's cool. It's not unheard of for a game developer to have someone like outside of the studio working on their stuff, right? That's cool. I was cool with that until recently. I heard that they had up to 4,000 to 7,000 people who were third party working on very big parts of the game, right? And by the end of development, like when the game was like about to release, all those 4 to 7,000 people were pretty much gone. There was like 700 more people working on it, and then most of them are gone now too. Okay, and I'm gonna keep it real with you. They might have bit off. No, they definitely bit off more than they can chew at 343. They overpromised and they are under delivering yet again for the second time since Halo 5. They have not released split screen multiplayer in over 10 years. I was in middle school the last time they released split screen multiplayer.
Okay, so let me ask you
You know how
this.
crazy that sounds?
Let me ask you this. Do you think they should have maybe waited before coming out with Halo Infinite?
Yes, I think Halo Infinite should have been delayed by like at least 9 months to another year, because they are so behind on the stuff that they promised originally at the beginning of season 1 that it might have just been better for them to release it at that point anyways, right? Now, a lot of the stuff I've heard, a lot of stuff I've been seeing is pretty egregious. Like, they hired a lot of people to work on their new game engine called oh man, I forget. Hold up. Game engine, because they had a lot of people help work on it whenever they were creating Slipspace, their Slipspace engine, right? They had a lot of third-party people helping them work on their Slipspace engine to make the new Halo game, right? Cool, that's what's up. Because all those people left, and there's a lot of people who also left, there's not a lot of people that know how it works. So when they're trying to implement stuff, they're reaching problems, and they don't know how to fix these problems because these people are like, I didn't help develop this. I don't know how this works, this and that. And there's a lot of people who did, and they're all just gone. Like, imagine you build a car with a bunch of people, right? And you have like 10 people who build the car. You get rid of all 10 of those people, and then the 2 people who are around them working on the car, only one of them is left. You're pretty much just destroying. You're like, the amount of problems that are being encountered at 343 is not something that should be happening. That should be happening at a AAA gaming company. Like, if something like this happened at like Hello Games, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm like, okay, they're a relatively young company,
right?
You know, 343 is full of a bunch of veteran engineers and designers, and I feel like there should have been somebody in the room who stood up like, hey, so we probably shouldn't have all these third-party people helping us work on very big parts of the game and then letting them go right after. So
this goes back to something I said to you, and I think I said this before. Oh man, I don't know if this will solve it. And should 343 go ahead and pay a consultant from Bungie?
Ooh, I don't know. A lot of those old Bungie heads left to them like a while ago. I think like around the development of Halo 5. So right. I'm not sure.
But those dudes are still alive.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know.
So do you think
it's possible?
Do you think it would be beneficial for them to go back and find like people who originally worked on a story and worked on some of the game stuff?
It would be beneficial to find whoever is in charge and get someone else, because whoever's making these big head decisions is not helping them at all. Like, so March 4th, their lead multiplayer designer left, and a few producers left. Their executive producer left. A lot of people are leaving 343 Industries.
That's huge.
They're seeing the burning boat that they're on. And so it makes me think, I'm like, so this is probably why they don't have a lot of maps, probably why they don't have a lot of game modes they were promising on release. This is definitely why a lot of the season 1 stuff was delayed. Like, multiplayer Switch Team was supposed to happen like back in February, and they had to delay it until later into season 2. Season 2 was also delayed by like 9 months.
Wow.
It's just like they overpromised and undelivered on so much in this game. The only good part of this game, I will tell you emphatically, is the campaign, right? Which is supposed to be good. That's not really a surprise, but because the last one was so lackluster, it's kind of like, okay, cool. At least that was good.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things.
These at least signs.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the campaign. A lot of the videos I've watched, and a lot of people that have done reviews said that this was probably one of the best campaigns since, I think one dude said since Halo 3, this was probably one of the best campaigns, which is good.
As far as like story goes, it's great. But,
so
okay,
this kind of makes me, before you continue, this kind of makes me, I was wrong. I said something to you before, and I have to apologize. I was wrong. You remember we had a conversation, and I said if they created a Halo game and just focused on the campaign and not so much on a multiplayer, it will be great. I was wrong. I got to eat those words because it seems
And
like
the thing is, what made the other Halo games great, even if like the multiplayer wasn't the best, they were still working on stuff. And like, it's not that they're not trying to connect with the community. It just feels like it just doesn't feel like they're doing enough to be able to like facilitate what they need to do, like fixing bugs. There's certain bugs that have been active since the release of the game that have just now started being like put into the patch schedule for season 2, which is like
right.
they're supposed to come out in like August, right? And
Yeah,
then so
that's
there was this
crazy.
game called Anthem, right? That had like one of the like biggest development hells that anybody has ever seen. Okay. Like it was a huge thing. There was a bunch of articles on it. And there was this tweet that went out by Jason Schreier, right? He said, 2.5 years ago, a number of 343 staff passed around our big Anthem article, lamenting that much of it could also apply to Halo Infinite. Someone pointed out, at the end of that kind of development hell, you can wind up like Anthem, or you can wind up like God of War, right? Which
Mm,
God of War was amazing, but Anthem was not. And it seems like Halo is going into the realm of seeming like Anthem,
that's
where
so
they're just
disappointing.
people are disappointed with the gameplay. They don't come back even after they fix all their stuff,
Right.
and it's a lot of things that were just really just egregious in the development of this game that just and it's also so there's an article by Green Rant explaining why there's a lot of developers like leaving Halo Infinite, right?
Right.
Like 2 of their lead directors left already. This was like back in November when the game launched, right? And it's causing a lot more turnover. Like, so I'm just so disappointed and tired. Like so it was like October. They're like Halo Infinite's director Chris Lee, who's been there for a long time since like 2008. He left, right? The creative director Tim Longo, he left as well, right? And it's just all these people leaving who are like, man, this is kind of crazy. Like, and in the article it was talking about how we should probably be worried despite what Microsoft is saying about Halo, because it with good reason, right?
Right.
We're almost, what is it? We're like 9 months out from release. No new maps, no new game modes that they promised us. And you know what's the craziest part? You know how much has changed from the open beta they had compared to now?
How much?
Not very much. It's like a few game modes is added. Ranked is a little bit better. There's still a lot of connection issues
You think?
in ranked, which is not really supposed to happen. And it's like they release the open beta to like kind of throw us off the scent of, oh, this is not a complete game. And Halo follower said something in his video where he said that Halo trying to appeal to a more mass audience instead of their core fans is hurting them. And honestly, I feel like it's pretty accurate. They're trying to like,
It's
I don't know.
interesting.
It's
Do you think so? I wonder this. The Halo lore is all connected. I wonder how much of the TV show adaptation has affected the game, because the TV show adaptation is trying to do exactly that. They're not necessarily abandoning the core audience per se, but they're catering more to a general audience, which for the entertainment medium of TV shows and movies, that can work, because if you can grab a big enough general audience in, then you can recoup and make up for whatever you lose in your core audience. But I don't know if
yeah.
that works in a game.
There's a lot of things that have happened in Halo Infinite that people are not happy about that they've expressed to the devs. Some of it's been fixed, some of it hasn't. And it's like it feels like there's only one thing about us how they're taking to do certain things that should have been done a while ago.
So
Right. And they released this bomb where they talked about all like the truth about the development of Halo. You know what day they released this?
when,
April Fools.
yeah, that's that. Somebody,
The optics on this are so
yeah, it's
horrendous.
not good.
I'm convinced they're trying to bankrupt Halo on purpose.
They're trying to destroy Halo. Man, yeah, you have more knowledge on this than me. So I'm
Because I've
letting
been
you,
following
yeah,
it
I'm letting you
since the
take the
game
lead.
came out. So another thing, right? That is just I, I, I'm trying not to scream because I want to peak my mic, but like okay. So when the game released, right, online stuff was pretty cool. The gameplay was amazing. I'll say this right now: Halo Infinite has some of the best gameplay I've seen since like Halo 3, Halo 4. Right,
Wow,
great gameplay.
wow.
It is really fun. It is a fun game to play when you're not bored from doing the same thing over and over again. Okay.
And
So
then there's no local multiplayer. That is
no, there's not.
really
No.
that's killing me.
So
That's killing me.
right, what they focused on when the beta was coming out, right? You could level up, whatever, this and that, but you had a harder time leveling up if you didn't have the battle pass. So like every game you played, you got 50 XP. You had the battle pass, you got like 250 or 150 to 200. Right?
Mm,
People were angry about this. And
they
like
were-
a lot of the things that they seem to focus on are the cosmetics. Like there's been so many cosmetics added to this game, and no new maps, no new game modes, just cosmetics.
so you're
And it's not even like huh?
So you're pigeonholed.
Yeah, no. It's like we've had the same maps since release. Like the maps are like okay. Big team battle is the most unbalanced big team battle I have ever seen. Okay. Like they start you off in these huge maps with assault rifles, right? Not a long range weapon, so you got to go find weapons or use a pistol, right? And the weapon spawns are very unbalanced as well. And it's a very like hard to play big team battle with an assault rifle and these huge maps with characters across the freaking lane. You know, and it's like if they started with like an assault rifle and a BR, that would have been better. I feel like that would have been it and made it a little more balanced.
Yeah,
You know,
this
so
is
you want to like actually like run up all the time, have these unbalanced weapon spawns, and it's just ridiculous.
right.
Like
Th-
I
this sounds like a huge, gigantic nightmare of a game that if I was in game development, I would want absolutely, positively nothing to do with this.
I
I
mean,
would,
you're seeing that with all these people
yeah.
leaving 343. You know,
Do you
and
think?
so
Go ahead.
no, what were you saying?
Do you think that maybe they let a lot of these people go after the open beta went well? Because from what people were saying, I remember,
Yes, yes.
yeah. So
I think they did. I think they
maybe
were
they
like,
thought,
oh,
oh, we're
okay, we
good,
can rest our laurels. We're fine. Yeah.
right?
No, I think that's exactly what happened. So I have this friend, right? He got offered a job at 343 being like an audio designer, this and that. He has like 10 plus years in the audio industry. You know, he has his name on multiple games doing their audio for them. He's like a mixture. So he's a unicorn, what we call a unicorn in the game industry, right? He's a designer who understands how developers think because he used to be a development, right? That's really hard to find. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like designers who understand code on a complex level like that is a hard thing to come by, right? Very marketable dude. They offered him a job that was a contract job, right? And they said, oh, he can work remote for the first part of it, and then he could just come back, like come to Washington, right? And he ended up talking to the recruiter, trying to negotiate whatever. And then they originally said, well, you know, we don't really want to do contractors right now. I wonder why, right? Because we don't really trust like contract work, this and that. And essentially, what he got out of them when he was talking to them for an extended amount of time, they're trying to recruit people to contract who are in Washington, so they're less likely to leave for better work.
That's
And I like when I heard that, I was like, like whoever is like making all these decisions at 343 is like, what is the fastest possible way I can tank Halo and destroy the fandom that has been around for 20 plus years?
that sucks so
And
bad.
and it's a lot of these criticisms aren't even new, especially about like the cosmetic stuff, and they're not really focusing on like fixing the network issues because this has been going on since the game came out. And you know, developers have been responding to people on Reddit and stuff like that, being like, "Hey, so we're working on this and that." But at the end of the day, it's not the developer's fault. The developers can only code so much. They can only fix so many bugs. They can only program so many parts of the game, right?
Right.
It all comes down to the people who are in charge who are like, let's hire this huge overarching circle of people to work on this game, right? So we have this huge workhorse of just developers, animators, this and that, whatever, right? And then pull the rug from out under the people who are still working there, so it's harder for them to get more done. It's like cashing a check you don't have the money for, you know? And it's just, I feel really bad for any of the developers who are still there at 343 because they're taking the brunt of all of this like damage control, trying to fix this game that's obviously falling apart. And it's just, I don't know. It's a lot. I don't know if I screamed at someone. I'm trying not to because I'm just like,
Nah, you good.
I'm like
You're not screaming.
reading these articles, watching these videos, and it's I don't know. They just need new management. That is
So
yeah,
what do you?
just
All right. So what do you think?
disappointing.
What do you think went wrong with 343 from the jump? Because something derailed.
From the jump.
Yes, like something derailed
So,
drastically.
I remember this specifically because, oh man, it happened like back when Halo 5 was coming. So Halo 4 wasn't bad. It was pretty good. There were some things that were kind of like but it was still a pretty decent game, right? The downfall of 343 didn't really start until Halo 5. And the reason that is a lot of the older Bungie heads who still worked there, right? Who were like, you know what, I want us to keep working on Halo, this and that, started leaving because they were having creative differences with the people who were higher up who were like, well, we want to do this, we want to do that. And these people started like leaving and just being like, well, you know what, we'll find work somewhere else. And they ended up working for Bungie, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's an original company. But that's when it started. And it seems like, look, as far as the campaign goes, it's probably one of the greatest Halo campaigns comparative to 2 and 3, right? Not to knock the other ones, but this is pretty good. Okay. But as far as the gameplay aspects, as far as it goes with multiplayer, the fact that it didn't release with Forge, even Halo 5 had Forge. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what the head people are like. Yeah, we're not going to focus on the things that people are probably the most excited about, except for one. You know, it's kind of ridiculous. Like when you really think about it, they had the biggest budget of any Halo game. They had the biggest staff of any Halo game, and they had the most time to work on their game. 6 years.
Yo,
6 years.
That's what is bonkers. That to me, all the things you just rattled off is what is the most bonkers of any of this. How could you have... Okay, I'll answer my own question before I even ask it. You can easily destroy something by thinking money's the fix for a bad idea. Money's not the fix for a bad idea. A good idea is the fix for a bad idea. And
exactly.
I think the original leaders that were there from Bungie, those guys should have been given senior positions. Like, hey, you were here from the beginning. You were on Halo before probably many of us even knew what Halo was. So you know what? We're making you the lead. You tell us the direction we need to go in, and that's the direction we're going in.
So, do you know how much it took to create probably one of the most beloved Halo games?
Halo 2.
Of all time, Halo 2. You know how much that budget was?
How much?
Around 100 million.
So
they had 5 times that with $500 million.
Okay, so I'm on that. I might give them a pass for this reason. Wages have increased since the first Halo, right? So that's going to cost more.
Actually, it probably costs less. Never mind, because apparently Halo 5, Halo 3 cost 30 million to make.
Oh wow! And Halo 2 cost 100 million.
I'm about to check that number.
Yeah,
that doesn't seem right.
That doesn't seem right. But if that's the case,
the fact that Halo 2 was like 30 million.
Yeah, Halo 2 was probably, as far as first-person shooters, I'm not going to say it was perfect, but man, it was close to it. Storyline, great. Campaign, great. Multiplayer, magnificent.
They had a bigger budget than Avengers Endgame.
Wow.
Avengers Endgame had a budget of $356 million. They had $500 million to not put in Forge, to not put in multiplayer split screen on launch, to not give us enough maps, to not give us enough game modes to release with a fun game. And I understand COVID happened and they had to be remote, but it's like they didn't even try.
You know what?
To delineate the workload, and be like, hey, so this team will focus on this, this team will focus on this. They literally just were like, let's throw as much money as we can at these problems and just. Okay, so
tell me what you think, because you're a programmer and you would know more about this than I would. Would working remotely affect your productivity?
It depends on how intensive and how, hardware reliant I am on figuring out the problems I have.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Sense. So it depends, because a lot of people in development are introverts, so they kind of get more energy being by themselves. I'm a little opposite. I like to be around people, so it's kind of a niche question.
Bouncing ideas off people.
All depends on the developer. Yeah. So especially when it comes to development, you can definitely do a lot of the stuff online. That's why a lot of jobs are moving towards being remote, right? Yeah. I'm gonna keep it real. It's probably a lot more fun being around people, for an extrovert at least.
Right. And it's so.
But you can still get the work done.
Good case in point, right? The music industry has kind of done this where people record remotely now. And you can tell in the way songs sound, it doesn't sound as cohesive as two people being in a studio together, bouncing ideas off of each other. Just doesn't sound the same. I wonder if this is part of what hurt 343. And I think nobody would have taken it against them if they'd have said, look, COVID happened, lockdowns happened, we could not be, together in the same place, and it really affected the development process. So we're going to hold this game back at least another year to year and a half.
There's a lot of stuff that got delayed. Spider-Man got delayed. Nobody really cared. We were like, okay.
We have not seen Metroid Prime 4 yet, and I'm now, after hearing all this stuff about Halo, I'm now glad.
I've been telling, look, every time Nintendo delays a game, what do I tell you?
I got to apologize to you. You were right.
Troy Iwata said it best.
Yeah.
It was only delayed for so long. A bad game is bad forever. Okay. Yep. That's why when Nintendo says we're delaying a game, I'm like, okay, cool. Like they said they delayed Breath of the Wild too. I was like, all right, cool. It's gonna be better. Like I don't care if they delay the game as long as it's good.
Yeah, I give it to you. I get you. You win that argument. That debate is all yours. I can't.
Because you get stuff like this.
Yeah.
And you're just like, dang,
this was bad.
Like, more money put into this than Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
And this is what we get.
This is bad. This is bad.
Like it. I understand why they added the free aspect to the multiplayer. Okay.
I can tell you're disappointed, like immensely, in how all this turned out.
I understand why they added the multiplayer aspect or the free aspect of the multiplayer, and it's probably why they had a lot of the microtransaction stuff they had, right? But I have this sinking feeling in the back of my head that they probably made this game free because it wasn't finished. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I could be completely wrong. Okay. I just feel like it doesn't make sense for a game to have 6 years and $500 million to release with something like this. I'll say maybe they put a large majority of their money and their programming into the campaign. That's fair. I'm not gonna knock that. But this has to be one of the worst multiplayer experiences I've ever had in a Halo game. Like it's not even like the thing is it's not bad, but all the other ones were so much better that it's just like even Halo 5 was better. Halo 5 had more game modes, more robust things to do. I just kind of got disconnected after the story. That's it.
Explain this to me. Why did they hire so many contractors? Why does 343 not have an in-house, ingrown?
So a lot of game studios will do this where they hire people, right, to contract out to do a good majority of their work. Nothing like 5,000 to 7,000. Okay, that's a little different. That's where they messed up.
That's crazy.
They had
that's an insane number.
That is a lot of people working on one game.
Yeah, that number is nuts.
And kind of like when I heard that today, that made me realize it's probably why we have a lot of the weird bugs in the game. It's probably why a lot of the network stuff is I'm gonna keep it real with you. Excuse my French. The network shit is shitty. It is bad. It is bad network connectivity. Like when I'm watching a pro game and they're having trouble with a LAN party. Think about that. They are disconnecting from a LAN party. That is peer to peer.
Yeah, that's bad.
How?
That's bad. You're hardwired. That's bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't even know that much about networking, but I know enough to know if you're having trouble on a peer to peer connection, you probably fuck something up very big.
Yeah.
I'm getting hot thinking about it. It is like
I understand.
Look, 343. I've loved your games for a while. Okay, you guys seem like a cool company to work for. Who is in charge making these decisions, having these huge oversights, not thinking about the repercussions of things you're forgetting to put in the game? I don't get it. And you know what? Another thing, right? There's content that they said would be in the game.
You in your soapbox now. Here we go. Go ahead.
There's content that they said that would be in the game that isn't in the game yet, right? Like, and there's skins and there's cosmetics that you can literally see the bots wearing when you're doing the custom bot matches that are not in the game. You can literally just get those from there and just put them in the game. Like it's like there's only one person working on this game at once. And I'm not even mad at the developers because developers are probably working 80 hours a week doing their thing, working on the work of 5 people with one. It's not the developer's fault. It is whoever is in charge of making all these decisions for Halo, Halo Infinite, the decisions that were made for the multiplayer, what gets released, what doesn't get released. You are personally responsible for this. Okay, I don't know what happened. I don't know what you forgot. I don't know who you used to work for, but there got to be something messed up. Like you need to watch the Halo documentary and figure out what they did right because you're not doing anything right, except for the campaign. Ooh. I will give you this campaign. That's the only thing I like.
Goodness.
Okay, I'll play the multiplayer every now and again, but the campaign is the only 10 out of 10 thing. Everything else is like 5s.
Look,
I'm sorry.
look, yeah, that
It
was
is pissing me off. I've been watching these videos for 5 hours, looking at these articles.
that
I've
is
been
the
like,
Control
there's
Plaza
no
rant.
way they're messing up this bad. And you know the responses on the Reddit? It, oh my goodness. So there's this Reddit user Sketch, and he works for 343, and he responds to people on the 343 Reddit page, whatever, this and that, right?
Right.
And a lot of the responses that they were giving, it's not that it was Sketch's fault, but it just felt like what the heck, you know?
Right.
Like there was one response he gave where it's like, there's been a lot of struggles making this game to this and that, and we can't really tell you everything. And I'm like, it just seems like
Cop
making
out.
excuses. Like I don't know.
Cop
I don't know
out.
what happened. I wasn't there
Yeah.
making the game, but it just feels bad, man. Feels bad.
Man, this really
Bad
sounds
things.
like one of the worst
Worst
behind the
fumbles
scenes
ever.
looks that we've had at, a video game that went sideways. Which again, now let's takes me back to something you said, and again, you were right. This is your space, and I need to concede. You were definitely right, because I remember we talked about Breath of the Wild, and we talked about the fact that it was supposed to release on the Wii U, if I'm not mistaken, and Nintendo held it
Yes.
back.
Yes.
And the finished product is probably, arguably,
Perfect.
one of the most
Perfect.
glorious RPGs ever created. And holding it back is probably what made the difference. They decided, you know what? We have some problems. Now, here's what's funny. This is similar. What you're explaining about Halo is similar to the stories I heard about Metroid Prime. The thing is, once they hired new people, because you remember they had a bunch of contractors and then they were having issues, and then they brought a new game studio in.
Oh yeah, when they ended up delaying it. Yeah.
So, and this is what
There's a
you're
case
explaining.
study.
What you're explaining is probably exactly
You know
what
what?
happened. And they said, we're
If,
not doing that.
if Metroid Prime is better than Halo, it's
Ooh,
their fault. It is their own
this
fault.
Nintendo has an opportunity
Look,
to strike right now.
if Metroid Prime ends up being good and they have a good amount of multiplayer that's actually pretty dope, Halo is done. This was the last chance.
Wait a minute. Hold up.
Last chance.
Shots fired.
This is the last
done?
chance 343 had to convince people who were on the fence about Halo 5 to give their game a chance. Even if they end up fixing the game in the future, it will be too little too late. The people who bought the game, or the people who got the game on their computers, will be like, well, that's tough. The game is good. Nobody cares. Same thing happened with No Man's Sky. I commend them for going back and fixing their game, but they will never get the player base they had before ever again.
They had a buzz.
Nope. Like they got a little bit of people back. I started playing it again. It's a pretty cool game, but that's it. That is it. The next Halo game that comes out is probably not going to get half the number of sales that this one got.
I was excited.
Maybe even its predecessor.
I was excited for No Man's Sky. I remember me and you talked about it for a good year, and then it came out, and I was like,
so it's really good now. It's the game that we wanted when it came out is out. Yeah.
But right.
I might even get it on the PC for VR. It's really good.
So this is actually kind of sad, because I have the last Xbox I owned was the Xbox 360, and I considered buying an Xbox.
That thing was broken every day.
Just for Halo. I considered buying a new Xbox. And
the multiplayer is fun to an extent.
It's not so much that. It's not so much that. The fact that if me and you were sitting in the same room, I couldn't play local multiplayer. Man, that's a problem for me.
How crazy
that's a problem for me. That's
when they were making this game, they had to have known when Halo 5 came out. That was one of the biggest gripes. They had to, like, somebody in the room had to be like, that's probably the first thing we should work on. Make sure that works
right out the gate.
First thing.
Right out the gate. That should have been like.
I just don't. It disappoints me. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
I can tell. They hurt you.
Like,
show me.
The developers are probably
show me on this controller where they hurt you.
It was all over. No, because like it hurts me as a developer, because I probably can think about people who are working on this game, who put their heart and soul into it, and then to see there have been so many oversights in the direction of where the game is going, that has to hurt.
I'm glad you said that.
That has to feel horrible, because I've made games before that I'm just like, this is bad. Like, I tried my best, but this it's just a dumpster fire.
Okay, so that brings me back to something I asked you before. Not being a developer, I don't know the space, so I can only offer an outside look of what I think. Do you think Now everybody can't be a chief, and I understand that. Do you think when a game is being developed that whoever is the lead technical director probably needs to go around and talk to each individual game dev, engine designer, whoever, whatever different people working on a game? I don't know all
They're
the ins and
supposed
outs.
to do that. That's their job.
Clearly, but
Sean McKay was talking about this when I met him.
yeah,
He's literally, that's what he's supposed to do. He literally goes around and talks to everybody, make sure everybody's on task, see what's going on, see what the game plan is for the game, what features are going to have in the game, what the future of the game going to be like, what updates are going to have in the future. That's what you're supposed to do.
What about to get input? Because like you're saying, the game devs were probably working their heart out on this game, right? Probably putting everything they could into it, probably working a lot of overtime.
Engine and pro. Oof.
Yeah, so
yes.
Clearly these people would have seen, like, I have a hard time believing that none of the game designers, none of the game devs were thinking, yo, why do we not have local multiplayer? Like what is happening right now? Why are we not focusing on this? And
they promised it in an update and it never came. Yeah, it's supposed to come out. So it was supposed to come out.
Imagine
out last month.
Imagine let's go back. Let's go back 20 years, 30 years.
30 years.
Imagine, not for Halo, but just in general. Imagine a game coming out like Donkey Kong Country, no local multiplayer.
Been weird.
Unconscionable, right?
Why would you not have that in?
Not conceivable. Like, I can't even fathom
it's like having a Mario game with the Mario Bros game with no multiplayer.
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense.
I can't conceive.
It's like you're trying to exile half of your player base.
Yeah, what are you doing? I don't understand. So what I'm saying is, how they made that mistake in the first place, ever releasing a Halo game without local multiplayer, is beyond me. Right? So, I don't know. I don't understand.
When you're a grunt on the ground working on a big project, you don't really you can say things and they might take it into account. But depending on whoever your lead technical director is, they probably don't care, and they'll probably be like, "Oh, yeah."
See, and this is so. I'm probably gonna say something that's super radical, and nobody would do this, and I wouldn't expect anybody to do this because people like working; they don't want to be fired. But this is where social media campaigns really play a good role, because I'm sure.
I'm gonna keep it real. Yeah, I would keep my job.
Look, I understand that. I understand that, but this is probably one of those. And I'm not really a fan of doing that, but this is probably one of those times where it should be like, hey guys, look, here's what the developer, here's what the game studio wants to do, and they're not thinking about you guys, and I just feel like you should know, because in my opinion, this is a problem. Can you imagine the outrage if people would have found out there was going to be no local multiplayer? Nobody would have rocked.
They said there was going to before the game release. They kind of debated us.
Yeah, see, nobody would have rocked with that, which is why they said it. So they probably lied, because they knew, if we don't tell these people there's going to be local multiplayer, we're not going to have anybody waiting in line to buy this game. Their original
excuse was the graphics for Halo 5 were too good. I'm like, bro.
See, now you about to get me on my soapbox. This brings me back to where Nintendo. Look, to you graphic heads out there, to you PC players out there, I get it. I understand. You can see the hairs on a person's leg when you're playing your game, and it's so awesome. You can see the gnats jumping out the grass. Graphics on the Nintendo Switch, I'm about to say something that's unpopular, is good enough. I do not need anything better than that. The games I've played... That's not
ridiculous, though. That's not ridiculous to say that.
The games I've played on my Nintendo Switch are more than sufficient as far as graphics. If you game studios keep focusing so much on graphics that you sacrifice the actual game, the reason we actually came to this thing, you won't be around for long.
That's not ridiculous.
I'm gonna make a bold.
That's not ridiculous.
I'm gonna make a bold prediction. Nintendo is in a prime position to eat everybody's lunch right now.
Yeah, but it is also Nintendo, so they might just end up shooting themselves in the foot. Being like, "Oh, what?"
They might, but they're in a prime
People don't
position.
want a cardboard box to play their games with.
Yeah. I give you that. Nintendo be bugging. Nintendo definitely be bugging. But this is a prime example. So the graphics is what held you up from bro. look, in my opinion,
Yes,
this is
so
what you do.
I remember when it happened, and they were talking about it, like, well, in order to keep it at 60 frames per second, 4K, we had to like,
Drop the 4K.
this and that, and I was like,
Drop the. In
who
my
cares
opinion,
about 4K?
yeah.
It
And
is
I
a game
know
about shooting aliens and
now.
saving a AI.
Let
Why
me
do I care about 4K?
let me say this. There's a lot of people out there, a lot of gamers that are gonna disagree with both me and you, and I understand that. There's gonna be a lot of people that's gonna see that comment and their heads are gonna explode. But hear both of us out. I watch everything in 1080p, right? My phone is capable of 4K, and I watch a lot of things that's 4K. And sometimes I'll go back and forth, and then I'll go back to 1080p because I'm like, I really don't need anything more
It's
than
not
this.
that much of a difference.
I'm not gonna say that 4K is magnificent, but what I'm saying is 1080p is enough. It would have been better for them to say, we're gonna release this 1080p and we're going to do some work in the background to upscale it later on, but we want to release a game that people will enjoy with the features they want. That's what should have happened, in my humble opinion.
There's a lot of questions you could ask about why they did certain things. At the end of the day, we're never going to know. We weren't in the game studio making the game, looking at who was making what decisions.
I think I know. They saw the dollar signs. Okay, so explain this. Why else would they lie and say that there's going to be local multiplayer and then release it and, oh, my bad? Because they were
more than they could do, and they had not just 5,000 to 7,000 developers helping them.
Not just that, they were more worried about getting all those sweet monies from all those people waiting in line than they were with being honest and transparent with their fans. Look, here's the options. This is where, this is the age of the internet. Companies have no excuse. 343 could have 2 years ago put out a survey and said, hey, we're running into some snafus. We're putting out a survey to the fans. What would you rather? 4K, 60 FPS, or 1080p, maybe 60 FPS with local multiplayer? If they'd have put out that survey, I'm almost positive. I'm going to say at least 75% of the fans would say, hey, just do the 1080p and do some work in the background to upscale that later on, whatever patches you have to do. But we need local multiplayer.
I don't know. Like, all the Call of Duty games look amazing. Not going to play any of them. They look great, though.
Yeah, I was never, when Call of Duty went modern, is when I was kind of like some of the modern stuff is good. Don't get me wrong, but
Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare.
I always loved the World War II aspect. I know we've played a bunch of games where you're playing World War II and it's been done.
Overdone, I'm not gonna lie.
It's been done over and over again, and I get it. I think when Call of Duty turned into Call of Halo is where I kind of fell off.
So it's back to being modern now instead of like the futuristic stuff. It's been modern for like 4 or 5 years.
Like when the soldiers started looking like Spartans, I was like, all right, bruh. Like, come on.
So
now.
About what was I saying? I forgot my thought. Never mind. It seemed like something important though.
Halo really got you.
Oh, you know about Death Stranding?
No, talk about it.
Kojima game, right? You know who Kojima is? He made the Metal Gear Solid series.
Yep. Dope game.
Great developer.
Dopest games, yeah.
He has some of the best games out there. He made Death Stranding. Death Stranding was a beautiful game. Horrible gameplay. Horrible. Like, it seems to be like it's a beautiful game. The story apparently is really good, but like it's just the gameplay, which is not good. Like, when you were walking, you had to like balance your player as you were walking these like huge terrains, and you drop like you pretty much deliver maxes the game.
Yeah, see, that's so. Do you think that some of these games try? Okay, so I'll end with this. And I'll let you take us out. I'll ask you this question: do you think some games try too hard to offer things that maybe the fans didn't even ask for?
Yes, and I will answer that with a tweet about Elden Ring that I saw. Right, there was this developer who ended up tweeting about Elden Ring, going like, Elden Ring is good, but it doesn't do anything new, right? And it's not the fact that Elden Ring is good because it doesn't do anything new. It's good because it does what it needs to do very well, right? There's a lot of people in space, which I get. I'm a developer. I understand, right? You always want to do something crazy. You always want to do something great. You always want to do something like amazing off the wall. That's good. But if it's not something that's fun, people are not going to want to play your game. So I think that is the main problem that people are running into, where they think that every game has to be revolutionary in order to be good.